It's us live, Stephen. On you
That's
go.
us live and interactive. Well, folks, welcome on into another movie news show from Movie Burner Entertainment. I'm one of your co-hosts, Stephen John McLaughlin. Our other co-host, who is on the screen, I'm glad he's not done a close-up of me just yet. It's John C. Walsh. Now, tonight, John, we're going to be talking about Mark Ruffalo. He's finally confirmed whether or not he is going to be appearing in the latest Avengers movie, of course, Doomsday. And then we're going to be talking about Chris Pratt as well, for the same reason. And Chris Pratt does address whether or not Starlord will be making any more MCU future appearances. But what have we got up first, John?
Well, Bob, to quote James Paul McCartney from the mid-1960s, as we're touring the United States, Steve, we're going to be talking about Star Wars. And it's really an opinion piece from Screen Rant we thought was rather interesting, really in regards to the continual evolution of Star Wars as a brand, as a movie franchise, as a TV franchise, as an all-encompassing, if that's a word, franchise. Are they retconning? Is it official? Well, we'll get into that, Stephen. I think he's been a little smart ass and dancing around it. He's skirting at Lewis Glazebrook. Lewis could be 6'9". I don't know, but I'm going to call him a little smart ass for the purposes of this stream.
Yeah.
Stephen, look, we've got the article up. I'm probably not going to bring it up just now because it's a lot of reading and we've kind of skirted over it. And our general consensus is that, yeah, I mean, he's stating it's retconning, but he goes on to say that, well, actually, people don't fully understand the literal meaning of retcon. It really is just exploring and expanding out on concepts with added context and stuff like that. So, Stephen, I think it's undeniable. If you're going to use that description of retconning, adding context, retroactively changing canon, adding completely new characters and stories that further embellish upon backstories of characters in the sequel trilogy or whatnot, then yeah, by all means they are retconning Star Wars. But I think every story, be it a comic book story involving DC or Marvel or Star Wars in general, movie, books, it should always be a fluid, ever-changing entity. You shouldn't be stuck to, this was the canon from 1977, therefore this is always the canon. Things should be allowed to ebb and flow and change.
Right, John, the biggest problem Lucasfilm and Disney had when they decided they were going to do these sequel films, this sequel trilogy, was that they needed Harrison Ford back, they needed Mark Hamill back, and they needed Carrie Fisher back to really make it a worthwhile event, because it's continuing stories of the Skywalker saga as they like to ram down our throats. So, you know, nature has took its course with those three human beings. They aged over the last 30, 40 years. So we can't pick up right after Return of the Jedi. We need to go 30, 40 years into the future, which is now, or 10 years ago. It's all they could do.
Yeah.
But the problem, John, is the story. It's the interconnecting stories. And this is Dave Filoni and Lucasfilm's opportunity to start to shape and mould what's already there. Now, when I saw this earlier on, this headline, I knew exactly what it meant, because there's no chance Lucasfilm are retconning the sequel trilogy as you would much like it to. But what they have as an opportunity is to start to reshape, remold some of those car crash moments, I'll call them, John. The return of Palpatine, the bad mood that Luke Skywalker was in. The separation, the marriage separation between Harrison Ford's Han Solo and Carrie Fisher's General Leia, not Princess Leia now. You know, and these are the things that Filoni, Disney Plus, and, you know, they're sort of heading towards. Now, I know that we're going to be getting a Filoni-made film with all those characters in the TV series, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, etc., Boba Fett. You know, and that it does say in this article, to be fair to Lewis, that, you know, this is perhaps maybe out with the main players, Luke, Leia, and Han. This is the sort of period in time where Episode 7 should have picked up.
Yeah.
But this is another argument, John. We mentioned it time and time again. The time to do that, to have the big players in it, was the 1990s.
The 90s, yeah.
You know, and Harrison Ford was not going to do it. Let's be honest, he was not.
No, he was off doing his own sort of career at that point, Stephen, doing really interesting action stuff and other kind of stories. Yeah. And he was at the pomp of his career, really. And what fair play to him, he'd grown tired of the character of Han Solo.
Yeah.
And he was probably right, Stephen, in the sense that he wanted to kill the character off in Empire Strikes Back, because they've added jeopardy, levity, whatever you want to call it, to the story. If a main character bites the bullet, then all of a sudden your other heroes have got something to worry about. That's something obviously Disney and Hollywood like to shirk with these bigger franchises, because they know if they kill off a major character, then there's going to be a whole series of fans who are butthurt, and that's maybe their favourite, and then they lose interest.
Yeah.
Obviously Disney don't give a shit about that, because they killed Luke off. Leia, obviously Carrie Fisher, sadly passed away 2019. Was it 2016? Fucking hell, was it far back? Is that? Yeah, because the Rise of Skywalker was round about then, wasn't it?
Yeah, Rogue One had just come out.
Yeah, it just came out, yeah, because I've just got my dog, so I should know that. So they were kind of forced with her, although I still maintain they could have done some post-production wizardry and had her killed off in that film. Last Jedi killed off in some way, and obviously Luke can continue on, because Mark Hamill was living and breathing, so that was a mistake. But no, Stephen, with them, they also didn't give a shit, because they were killing major characters off. Harrison Ford came back purely to kill off Han, so he didn't want anything to do with the character. That's why he was so happy in press junkets, because he was getting to experience the fandom, the adoration of Star Wars fans, but also knowing in the back of his head, yeah, I'm done with this fucking shit in a couple of months, so I can walk off into the sunset quite happy. Well, he didn't, because he came back, didn't he, as a Force ghost. And he's not a Jedi. As he said, that's not how the Force works. Well, you're right, Han. That isn't how the Force works. It doesn't work with you coming back either.
Talking about that, though, I mean, there's some fan theories about that. That was Leia that projected that image to
for fuck's sake, is this
the... And that killed her.
Is this the lightsaber bollocks again? How does a lightsaber slice through certain objects? How could Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan put their lightsabers through 6 foot thick metal doors, but yet Luke is bouncing people off his lightsaber on the
like
sail barge, Jabba's barge in Tatooine, next to the Sarlacc pit? Well, I mean, you've got a setting on the lightsaber, you can just flick it and it alters the density or the power of the blade. Well, how does it? Some are a lot longer and some are short. Well, you can just adjust it. Bullshit, they weren't thinking about it back then. Here's one for you, dickheads. Now that we're getting on to canon and things changing in story and even visually as well, how is it that for the first 6 movies there was no reflection of the colour of a lightsaber on the environment, in the characters' eyes, but all of a sudden you can see the red and the blue and the different colours reflecting all over the place, because technology has advanced and they never thought about that. It was all added in post-production. It's not real. I know we're all invested, we love it, but stop trying to add in things that didn't exist to try and justify in your mind why things don't make sense. You then add in context. That's exactly what they're doing here, Stephen. That's exactly the premise of this whole topic we're having here. And to be fair, I'm having a dig at these fans, but I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek, because we're all guilty of it, Stephen. One of the great things about Star Wars, and we've said this time and again on this channel over the years, is that great imagination of a fan base, is that great investment into the canon and into side stories and set dressing characters.
You mentioned we're all guilty of it, and I can remember when we came out of episode 8, The Last Jedi, couldn't believe what happened to Luke, and you were clinging on to the whole. Why did his hand not, his metallic hand, his robotic hand, why did that not clank onto the ground when he disappeared? he might still return.
Because you're desperate, Stephen. That's why you're so invested.
Exactly.
You're so invested in that character in particular. For me, he was always representative of Star Wars, and that's why a lot of the sort of retrospective butthurt and anger towards J.J. Abrams and obviously Rian Johnson is largely surrounding the handling of Luke Skywalker, his story, making him this bitter old man. I don't mind him being old and having experienced things, but ultimately the bitterness and the just disenfranchised way of the character, he was always a hopeful, up-spirited, thoroughly good guy. To make him out to be some sort of villain, even in the mind of his nephew, the twisted mind of his nephew, that just didn't sit right with me on any level. And just taking that character and corrupting him like that, I understand as you get older, you probably become more embittered. Fuck knows, I see it all the time with people lashing out because they don't like the energy of a younger person or whatever.
But would you like to see this establish, this relationship between Ben and Luke through those early years? I don't know how they'll do it in terms of technical investments at the moment. We're getting
just have to recast.
We've seen some of the AI stuff, John, so there is that possibility, you know, they can take it to that level in maybe a few short years, maybe 5 years from now. We've seen the advances in AI over the last 5 years, John. We were experimenting with AI 5 years ago with Kevin, as you recall, creating some really mind-blowing effects that are still burned into my mind. And
even it's terrifying how quickly it's advancing. I've been going down rabbit holes watching videos about AI. It really is. It blows the mind.
But I would love to see
I found myself sitting. No, I'd like to see the continuing evolution as long as they don't take over and wipe us out. But it's like I was sitting the other night just thinking, how the fuck has this happened? How has this happened? Like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, this was science fiction.
Yeah.
This was something you've seen in a James Cameron movie. Now we're at the point, I don't know if you've seen these robotic androids that literally exist and they're dancing and walking about and picking things up. Stephen, we are so close to T800 territory here. Like, these things are walking about, reacting to their environment. It's fluid. They're doing rolls and stuff like that. They're rolling this out. Where the fuck is this came from? It's unbelievable.
I'm 50,
unbelievable.
I'm 50 next month. I don't give a fuck. I'll not be there when that moment comes. I don't care.
But you want to bet it's advancing that quickly. I think it'll be here quicker than you
just
think.
Going back to the point, though, in terms of we need to see that. We need to see that relationship, the loving relationship between uncle and nephew, because we don't get that. We don't really get a lot of screen time until the confrontation in The Last Jedi on Crate, is it? It's the only time the two of them share any screen time. There's references throughout The Force Awakens, there's references throughout The Last Jedi, but we really only see that relationship at its bitter end. We don't see it blossom, we don't see the connection, we don't see anything other than a couple of flashbacks that when Luke's about to murder him. There's no balance in that. And that was one of the things Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams was always going on about, the balance of the Force. There was no balance in the story.
No.
So
that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's how you add balance, Stephen. That's how you do it. It has to be a continuing and evolving process. The story, the characters, our journey. And how do you do that? You do that by adding in great content and using the mind of a Dave Filoni who was so closely by the side of George Lucas.
Yeah.
And he knows the process. He understands it. He's a genuine fan. He knows the mind of George and what he would do in a situation. And I think, whilst you don't want to be a complete sycophant and follow in the exact footsteps of George, ultimately having the man who created the franchise, the world, the universe, the characters, and what his process is in your mind will probably lead to a more authentic Star Wars experience. He, as a fan, understands what other fans want. So having that guy in charge of creative will probably help a great deal. And he will probably go in and right some of the wrongs. To quote your man, forget the character's name, Max von Sydow's character.
Yeah.
This will begin to make things right. He will make things right. I'm absolutely certain over the next decade or so, by hopefully introducing a Luke Skywalker TV show set between the events of the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, where you can incorporate the relationship between Ben and Luke.
Yeah.
To just show the journey of Luke, Stephen, because it's so... What's the word I'm looking for? not disorientating, not, I don't know. I can't think of the word just now. It just takes you out of the film because you're that used to seeing a young 20-something Mark Hamill playing this hopeful new Jedi Master, if you like, Jedi Knight, whatever. I think it was a Master for the events of Return of the Jedi. Then the next time you see him, he's a 60-something, really unhappy guy living on his own. He's lost all hope. He's disconnected from the Force. You need to bridge that gap. That's why it's such a sort of disconnecting experience, because you've got 30 years of story, 35 years of story. It's lying, missing somewhere. And to be fair, Filoni's done that to an extent with the Clone Wars and Rebels. He's filled in gaps that just couldn't be told in the prequels.
John, he's done it. He's done it with Ahsoka as well, the TV series Ahsoka with Anakin. Some of the stuff in Ahsoka with Hayden Christensen was fantastic. And they did it in the Kenobi series as well. With Hayden Christensen, that relationship just needed a bit more time between Anakin and Ben and Obi-Wan, and I think that's the kind of things that these TV series can bring, and that's the kind of things that's important going forward for the franchise. Is that I never thought I would see Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka interacting and talking about Anakin. We got that. So these are just little moments, throughout these web series that we're getting, but it's only going to become more solid, going forward in terms of more web series round about that period, and leading up to the event.
Oh, he's dropped it as well, apparently. I don't know what's going on here. Stephen's back. He's back with a bang. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know.
But we lost you briefly for a second. You were talking, Stephen, about you're going to have moments like that where
it's important, John, and they've got 30 years between both trilogies to make things right, as you said, and it's a big responsibility. But I've not always been the biggest fan of Dave Filoni and some of the things that he's been.
His comment, Stephen, about Andor. Apparently, he wasn't a huge fan of Andor. That worries me slightly, because you're not going to get more content like that. And for me, that was brilliant. Alternative storytelling in the Star Wars galaxy. It doesn't always have to be the Force and Jedi. I know some people think that is Star Wars, and to an extent it is, but there is always going to be another side to this galaxy where the little man is living his life side by side with these sort of greater beings, if you'd like, Jedi, Sith, and all sorts of other stuff. Not everyone's going to be a bounty hunter. Not everyone's going to be a general or a fucking princess or a Jedi master. There's just ordinary folk. And what I liked about Andor was it showed how the ordinary folk can come together alongside the Jedis and whatnot and inflict change. And how you can build bit by bit to the point where you're facing off against a tyrannical empire. And I really enjoyed that aspect, and I want to see stories like that continuing alongside
John,
Mandalorian.
They have to become focused again on the product, and they have to become focused on the storytelling. Bin the fucking politics, put it to the side. Don't care who's directing it, don't care who's writing it. And those people who are directing it and who are writing it, shut the fuck up and do your job. Just do your job. That's all you've got to do. I don't care about anything out with what you're supposed to be doing for your audience, your agendas or whatever it may be. I don't care. I don't really care about, John, Arnold Schwarzenegger was one of the biggest Republicans in the 1980s and 90s, and I wasn't a big fan of the Republicans. I'm not really a fan of any of them, to be honest with you. It's not my politics. I didn't care about that. I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger. Loved him for what he did, because he did his job. As an action hero, and just some great films in there as well. Clint Eastwood's another one.
By all accounts, he was actually a good governor.
Yeah. But it's just keep all that shit to the side. If you want to, I'm not dissing anyone's beliefs, John, or what they think the world should be. I don't care. We've all got an opinion on that, but keep the opinions out of the red carpet. You know,
unless it's something that's specifically tailored to a political sort of story, in which case, knock yourself out. But with Star Wars, Stephen, Star Wars was always this unifying thing, alongside other things like sport. Certain sports, they unify people, they bring communities together with a like-minded sort of like or I don't know, adoration of something. And what it does is it unifies communities and it gives people a bit of escapism from the real world. So if you start injecting identity politics and just politics in general and modern Earth things into a galaxy it's supposed to be many years ago, far, far away, then you start taking people out of it. The escapism's gone. They're being confronted by shite they see every day, and all of a sudden they become disenfranchised and don't want to watch it anymore. And that's been happening again and again in Hollywood. It's not just Star Wars. Over politicising. Like Ricky Gervais says, no one gives a fuck about your views. No one cares about what your thoughts are on things. You're a movie star. Act. Get off the stage with your award and shut the fuck up. That's it. Plain and simple. And he's absolutely spot on.
To make an audience or a fan base uncomfortable and deliberately what you're making. That's weird. That's just been weird.
And overly sexualising Star Wars as well is something I'm not about. You can be subtle with it. Obviously, Padme or not Padme. Fucking blank on her name. Jesus Christ, Amidala. What's Padme? Natalie Portman, to an extent, and Attack of the Clones with that outfit, tearing away the midriff. There's just subtle little things where, obviously, you can see she's an attractive looking woman. She's dressed in a certain way. It's just
John, they did that bit, didn't they, in The Last Jedi with Ben Solo, didn't they? He just topless and he just was so wide.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was like, I mean, he's in good shape. Adam Driver, to be fair, I'm not knocking him, but he's got a strange physique, a good physique, but it's strange looking. There's ways to do it, but overly sexualising it by introducing all of the shit they've been bringing in, it's just like, no, man, you don't need to do that. It can be hinted at. You don't actually have to broach
it. It's not part of the story.
It's not. It's meant to be a family experience, and I understand you've got to educate people from a young age and whatnot on the ways of the world, but I don't think it's necessary in Star Wars. It's not something George ever really broached. So I think we should stick closer to his vision.
Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill was approached by that question about does he think Luke Skywalker is gay, and he came up with, I can't paraphrase not John, but he came up with a really good answer. If he's gay to you, fine. If he's not gay to you, fine. It doesn't really matter.
So, exactly, you leave it open-ended. You don't have to bash people over the head with it.
Is R2-D2 a boy? That was the other one.
No, he's a fucking droid. And even the Lando stuff with the what was that called again? fucking EE. I'm talking about the one played by double barrel name Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
Where he was pansexual and he had this thing for the droid. It's like, come on, what are we doing here? There's no need for it. You're going to be telling me Lando and Lobot had a relationship, for fuck's sake. There's no need for it. You're overly complicating things. Just simplify it. Good storytelling that will, like you said, Steve, not really rile or cause division amongst an already divided fan base. It's time to start bringing people back together again with good storytelling, simple storytelling, add context to the sequel trilogy. It's there now, you can't really change it, where you can lay down more stories with these characters, other characters, that adds levity, weight to what comes afterwards. If you see the sacrifice of people and then you see the rise of the First Order, even though it's shit, it's just a repeat of what we got in the original trilogy. There's ways of making it, I don't know, add some importance to it. Make it pop a little bit better, so when you go back and watch those films, it doesn't feel as disconnected.
John, I would like shit.
You can make it better.
I would like to see Thrawn see it out till not long before the events of The Force Awakens. Like, you know, there's a reveal at the very end of his sort of arc about Palpatine or something like that. You know, he's returning. It's just that's a bit cheesy, but you know what I mean. It's just a build up. That's what we need. Yeah. We need a build up to all these sort of main plot points that are in the sequel trilogy. And I know a lot of people probably be watching this going, "You bunch of fucking sycophants." You know, we're not saying the sequel trilogy was great. It wasn't. Far from great. It was pretty poor.
It was fucking shit. And I mean,
you know, and I'm trying to keep my swear jar down to a minimum tonight. I'm choosing my swear words very carefully, John, but
swore more now, Stephen, than I think you've ever done.
So, yeah, I mean, it's they really just need to focus on that in terms of explanations, you know, and build up in the story. They have to make these stories believable. It's going to be quite a task, because some of them are just that line from Oscar Isaac's character. I can't remember his name.
Somehow, Palpatine has returned. I can't remember it.
You know, but if they've got backstory to that he's not privileged to, then it can be excused.
Yeah, I mean, that's something they're going to struggle to ever.
No, it's not.
That's going to be something they're going to struggle to explain.
Yeah,
period, Steve. To be fair, you were on board with that bollocks and or against that from the get go. You were ahead. I was actually slightly excited. I'm, oh my god, they're bringing Palpatine back. So, don't know why. They'll just bring them back. Yay! Absolute fucking sheep.
I think most of the Celtic fans at this period in the season are desperate for signings, so it was a bit like that. John.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to the point where we're now
accepting take anybody.
Flop from Turkey, who was good at Sparta Prague 2 years ago. Yes, he's better than Johnny Kenny. Get in there. But Steve, for me, the single most important thing is the handling of Luke Skywalker. He's so important to the story. The story weaves in and out of this character. He also ultimately redeems his father. And we really have to go away or go some way to filling that character out between the events of Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens to explain just what happened. He can be that bitter and unhappy and disconnected if something truly tragic's happened. If they can introduce the character of Mara Jade or something similar in between the events, tell a story of him post-original trilogy, laying down this academy, finding these Force-sensitive beings. It doesn't have to be human characters, it could be aliens, a whole melting pot of different creatures and whatnot. Maybe meets Mara Jade. Yeah. We settle down, we get some sort of romantic element to the character, give him happiness and then rip it away. Maybe even it's Ben.
Yeah.
During the events of wiping out this Jedi Academy, Mara Jade or whatever, her character, doesn't have to be her, it could be somebody else, dies, and that's what causes him to recede into hermitude, I was about to say. I think that's a word. Into the ways of Yoda. Before
the Ahsoka series had give us an indication of, in terms of the perspective of the downfall of the Empire, with obviously the introduction of Thrawn and these stormtroopers. They were almost zombie-like, weren't they?
Zombies, yeah.
You know, and but at least they're going there with it. You know, it's not. You know, this was one of the things that it was so too abrupt for my liking with The Force Awakens, that you do have to have your evil in your film if it's a good versus evil film, you know. And I would have preferred if they had went down the sort of Force way of the just exploring the Sith and the dark side more than giving us another version of the Empire. But they've done it, you know. So I think in terms of Filoni and the Ahsoka series, they are starting to sort of put those pieces together, what is going to lead up to the First Order. So
I mean, Thrawn, Stephen, they dropped the ball hardcore on the sequel trilogy. Yeah. Thrawn was there, they could have brought him in. I know there was talk back in the day of Benicio del Toro. People were hoping he'd come in The Last Jedi and be Thrawn, but ultimately it never happened. So they've left the door open for Dave to come in and do it.
Yeah.
With also that Ahsoka stuff leading into I'm presuming all of the gang, likes of the Mandalorian, Grogu, Boba Fett, his sidekick, I forget her name.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on all the fucking characters' names now. It's that time of night. But it's been a long day, and my dog's farted, and it's just absolutely awful. His farts are horrendous.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. Fucking awful. But they can bring all those characters that have been explored in the TV shows together to face off against, obviously, Grand Admiral Thrawn, and it'll be a nice sort of climax to that side of things, where it's the TV world getting the big screen treatment. I'm slightly concerned about the Mandalorian movie. I'm not going to lie. From what I've heard, it's a glorified film episode.
Yeah.
And I'm getting brought back to the Clone Wars when the first couple of episodes were pieced together and made into a film, and it was shit. So I'm worried about that. How they expand these characters out into the big screen and make them just sit. I feel like they belong there, because that's always the problem. You can lay down great stories and characters in TV, but making them have that jump over to the films is an entirely different process. So, but I've got faith in Dave. I think he is a genuine fan, unlike those that have came before him.
Yeah.
And I've got faith that he will try and right some of these wrongs that have came before and make the process of going from the original trilogy into the sequel a little bit smoother.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's retconning, I have to say. I don't think it's retconning.
No,
this guy's he's reaching hardcore.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to retcon the fucking sequel trilogy.
He's trying to be smart with words, John, and on the back of that, we're hopefully going to benefit from that. So, John, in terms of where they go with it, remains to be seen. We've obviously got that Starfighter film coming out as well with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
I think Tom Cruise has directed that sequence in that as well, by all accounts.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
So random, but I'm interested to see, John. Listen, see the Mandalorian Grogu film. I'm not really excited about it. I probably will see it at some point, but I don't have the same enthusiasm for those type of films. I might be a little bit more excited about the Ryan Gosling one because it's Ryan Gosling, and see where that goes. Because I don't think he's the type of actor just sign on. He doesn't need the work. He doesn't need to raise his profile or anything like that by attaching himself to Star Wars. It's probably been a lifelong ambition to appear in a Star Wars film, but I'm interested to see how that sort of connects into this universe and a timeline as well. Not really sure exactly where it sits in terms of the timeline, but we'll just have to wait and see. John, we're going to move on to our next topic, and it's all about Mark Ruffalo confirming, or finally confirms, whether the Hulk is in Avengers Doomsday. I'll pass it over to you because you're in control of the article, John. I don't want to start reading quotes in yours like we did in the old days.
Oh God, I know, and I'm furiously trying to rush down to find where it is in the article.
Yeah.
No, he was speaking to Empire, Stephen, who revealed that he'll not appear in Avengers Doomsday. And obviously, he's open to coming back after. I didn't even know he was in Brand New Day, Spider-Man.
No,
so that was news to me. He revealed that. But he's confirmed as long as they keep finding cool things to do with Hulk, it's given me so many gifts. You know, I probably wouldn't be in Crime 101 if it wasn't for the Avengers. So I like to see it. I like to see a guy who's giving his dues to the Marvel stuff, because too many times you see these actors, mostly ones that have not been in Marvel films, to be fair, Stephen Dorff and other fucking clowns shitting on top of it. Just bitter. Glad to see a guy who, let's be honest, is a serious actor. He's acted in Scorsese movies alongside Leonardo DiCaprio. He's acted in other really drama-driven human condition stories, as well as superhero stuff. Give it its due and say, look, this has been good for me, so I'm happy to keep coming back and give him all for the character. In terms of his appearance or lack thereof in this film, Stephen, everything I'm seeing about this film is screaming cameo galore.
Yeah.
Like just everybody and anybody's going to be in it. So ultimately, some characters are going to pay for that by not being in the film. And ultimately, I wouldn't want them forcing a character of Hulk's importance and presence into a film just for a 5-minute cameo, and there's no real impact. If you're going to bring him in, you've got to do it right. And he's such a powerful character.
Yeah.
I understand alongside Doom, it's probably a weakling. It's like me trying to come up against, I don't know, fucking Mike Tyson in the 1980s. I'd get slapped down in a heartbeat, a blink of an eye. He'd hit me with a missed punch and I'd be knocked out. I'd be seeing stars. Because everybody's like that against Doom. Everything I'm hearing about this Doom character, he's supremely powerful. He's jumping across timelines and slapping people about. So it's going to be a really interesting story. And I've seen your man Tyrone Magnus and a couple of other people breaking down potentially leaked scripts. That's a silly thing to do because I'm maybe spoiling the experience for myself if it's even remotely true. But there's some interesting shit going on in there. People flip-flopping. Really interesting stuff in terms of how they're exploring the Doom character and his backstory and what is empowering him to go and do what he's doing.
John,
I don't want to see them rushing Hulk in for the sake of it. I'm not upset about him not appearing in this film. There's going to be a lot of characters.
Red Hulk. I'm not really... either way, I will see this film. I'm not going to lie, John. I will go and see this film at Christmas. just because the Avengers films, I think I've seen them all so far in the
Yeah.
cinema. I will say one thing, I have liked the trailers up to this point. They're just like sort of sneak peek, introducing the characters who will return. I don't know if you saw the last one, John, with the Fantastic Four and Wakandians.
No, I've not seen it. I need to watch it.
It was pretty good, but I think my favourite one is probably the X-Men one.
Yeah.
I think that was fantastic. Very emotional seeing Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart together again, as it always is. These are the characters that we attach ourselves to with or these actors to these characters. But yeah, I mean, it's one of these films since they've went down this multiverse route that people expect cameos now. It's just a part of it. It's part of the baggage that they can't seem to get themselves out of it. Perhaps maybe Secret Wars will maybe reset things a little bit and they'll get back on track away from the multiverse. I was never a fan of the multiverse, John, because I knew it'd be quite gimmicky. And as much as it's nice to see, actors returning to these famous roles, and I loved No Way Home. You can't keep doing that because the buzz of that finally goes away. And certainly, I think the cameos that were in Doctor Strange 2 didn't really appeal to me at all.
No.
Didn't really. I wasn't buzzing for it at all.
Stephen.
Yeah.
That's a concern. You bring in so many characters from the likes of Fantastic Four, X-Men, you bring them all together.
Tobey Maguire.
The worry is, exactly, getting the balance right.
Yeah.
It's so important that you're not just bringing them in for fan service. There has to be a rationale for these characters being in here. And ultimately, the Russos are involved with this. They're directing this. So I've got a lot more confidence in what their vision is, as opposed to some other non-entity of a director. These guys come back. They understand Marvel. They understand what makes a blockbuster, what makes fans want to watch the film. And I've got supreme confidence that they will utilise these characters very well. Stephen, one of the best moments in Endgame is the portal scene.
Yeah.
When Sam comes out with all the other fallen sort of heroes, if you'd like, and we get that epic 10-15-minute sequence where they're taking on Thanos and his army. That was fucking incredible. There were so many characters, but they somehow managed to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, they made it work because they needed them. Captain America couldn't do that all himself, but they had to bring them back. And it was such an epic moment, John. It's not one of the moments when I see it on YouTube or I maybe catch it on Disney Plus. It's such an iconic moment in that studio's history. And I don't think anyone 20, 30 years ago would ever have dreamed to seen all these characters all sharing the screen in one sequence. So, John, there was also talk about Alfred Molina. I've read coming back to play Doc Ock in this movie.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks that the Russos might be under pressure to give all these legendary characters, I want to call them, the Hugh Jackmans, the Patrick Stewart characters, one last array, because they're not going to be able to do this ever again. So it might just be that they're taking the opportunity while they can. Because
the counter argument to that, Stephen, as well, is that obviously the nature of Doom and the nature of this story is very multiversal.
Yeah.
And that there's obviously been something upset the apple cart. And by all accounts, it's Steve Rogers came back and living his life. That has kind of caused a rift, and it's caused damaging consequences for other characters and Doom as well. And that's what kickstarts everything.
John, another interesting thing that I did read,
you're going to see these characters.
I don't think it was actually, I didn't read it. It was actually on John Campea's show. He headlined it with, there's no reference to Doom resembling Tony Stark. There's no reference to it at all, which I find weird. Unless he's going to be masked up in public and unmasked in private, so none of the characters would see him anyway. I don't know.
It might not. Yeah, because I mean, it's Victor Doom, isn't it? That's the name of the character. So he is playing Victor Doom. He's not playing Tony Stark, who's playing a different version of Doom. He's taking on the sort of alias of Doom. It's not Tony Stark in the universe. It's a totally different character.
I don't know, John. I don't really know the ins and outs of it. All I know is they're not referencing it in terms of, oh, he looks like
Exactly.
Tony Stark, you know?
Because if he's not Tony Stark in an alternate universe who's taking on this different sort of alias, if you like, then there's no reason to reference it. It's just coincidental that Robert Downey Jr. is coming in to play a different character. Obviously, the fans know he was Tony Stark, but if in the universe he's not got any connection to Tony Stark, he's not some sort of multiversal Tony Stark that's went rogue.
We don't know that.
I've got no. But if he is, then that adds a lot more intrigue. Because then you've got the whole sort of dilemma with the likes of Peter Parker, Stephen Strange, and all these guys. They all had relationships with Tony Stark, and he was the ultimate sort of hero by the end. He sacrificed himself to save the fucking universe and whatnot, and all these characters.
That'll be a concern, John. That'll be a concern for the Russos as well. But I think they would have lots.
I would almost like that to be the case. I want it to be Tony Stark.
Yeah, they've thought long and hard about both Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr.'s return, because you don't want to take anything away from what they did, in Endgame. And I always found it weird with Gamora, that variant of Gamora coming back for the film after her death. It didn't sit nice with me at all, because I don't know. I know that it was obviously a time travel story, and these things can happen, I suppose, but I don't know. It kind of took a little bit away of that moment.
Because that moment in Infinity War in particular was probably one of the more impactful. Yeah. Because it showed that Thanos, he is this ultimate sort of bad guy, if you'd like. But that hurt him, having to do that, even though it was his sort of ambition, his lifelong sort of ambition, for lack of a better word, to rid the universe and the galaxies of sort of strain in his mind. By removing half of the occupants, he could create a sort of more spacious environment, resources and whatnot. That was his sort of ambition, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he was willing to sacrifice one of the few things he loved in life to make that happen. So to then sort of retcon that and bring her back and sort of be a little bit slippery with the way that they did it. It didn't sit well with me either. But ultimately, Stephen, it gave something for the Guardians to cling on to. It gave a reason for their story to continue, and we ultimately got Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I really enjoyed it. It's actually one of the post-Infinity Saga movies that really hit for me. But that's as much to James Gunn.
I think, John, there was unfinished business, though, with the Rocket character and his backstory. Yeah. And you can't have Guardians Volume 3 without Gamora being in there. So I understand the reason for bringing her back for Endgame. I mean, it was different for Thanos because he was like an earlier version of Thanos by the end of the film, because the one that was through the journey was killed off at the very beginning of the film with his head getting chopped off by Thor. But you can accept that because he is the main villain. And I didn't really see his death at the start, when they chopped his head off, is that impactful or shocking, because I knew there was a time travel element to it, and I knew that we were going to see him again. But I just think at that moment, obviously in Infinity War between Gamora and Thanos, was very impactful, John. I think most of the audience in the theatre we were in, there was a gasp of what he did. It was pretty shocking, doing that to his own daughter. Or his adopted daughter, I should say. But I loved that.
One of the criticisms of Marvel, Stephen, even in their heyday, though, was like a sort of jeopardy and I don't know, permanence and death. They always found a way to slip out of it and bring characters back, and even now they're doing it, because Chris Evans obviously left the franchise, Robert Downey Jr. left the franchise, and they're finding a way even now to bring them back. I think it's necessary. I'm not complaining.
Wolverine died. Logan died.
I know, exactly. Logan, one of the ultimate. Exactly. And they're all coming back.
And those were emotional moments, as you recall. There was a speech that Patrick Stewart did, just before his character passed away in Logan. It was, I always remember it was in a room, in a house, and he was just giving this really emotional, impactful sort of speech, before he passed away. But no, it's one of the things that Marvel are guilty of, and I'm pretty sure probably DC are the same. It's, you know, their characters never die, you know, forever.
Oh, it'd be fair to DC. They at least were well known anyway. He kind of left it as a cliffhanger.
We even got a
Did he
version
didn't
of
that?
Vision coming back, didn't we?
Yeah, Vision. Yeah,
And
yeah,
Wonder,
exactly.
I thought that was
Yeah,
fantastic.
White Vision.
I
Yeah.
loved.
No,
But
Steve,
even
that
Vision, you know, in the eyes of obviously Wanda, you know, she reanimated his presence, and
that's
and
another
that
one,
whole
by the way.
thing, you
I
know.
think we get Scarlet Witch back. You think Elizabeth Olsen will come back?
I don't know if Elizabeth Olsen's done. I'm not sure.
Because we know we're not getting
Jeremy
Natasha back.
Renner
That's for damn
is.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh God, yeah, he's been.
Yeah, well, she had
seems
the
to-
lawsuit, didn't she? So,
Yeah,
Scarlett Johansson, because of the streaming, wasn't it? They released it on streaming a lot
yeah,
earlier.
and they
than-
didn't pay her. I think there was issues
Yeah.
over pay as well. I think she thought there was going to be
Yeah.
a bonus or something. That
But
never
to be
gets
fair,
paid.
John, I think the likes of Hawkeye, Black Widow, to an extent, their stories have been told. You know, how much
Yeah.
longevity can you get in those sort of more human characters, you know, that don't have super unnatural ability, you know. Yeah, I don't mind that. You know, Scarlett Johansson's a busy actor. Jeremy Renner's just recovering. Obviously, he's been in a few things, but he's still recovering from that terrible accident. Elizabeth Olsen, on the other hand, I'm not sure. Very, very quiet on that. She's one of my favourite characters as well, Wanda. Incredible
I love
character.
WandaVision. WandaVision was incredible. Such a
Really good.
unique story, and the way that they sort of presented it was really interesting, really different. That gave me really high hopes for the TV shows. And then Loki came out, and I was quite happy with Loki. Then Falcon and the Winter Soldier wasn't as great, to be honest. There was elements of it that were all right. The whole flag smashing box and all that, fucking wasn't having it. And I hate shit in the ginger headed actress who played the lead of the flag smashers. I think she was in and
Solo?
not Andor, she was in Solo as well.
Yeah.
Just don't know who's advising her on roles, but that role was fucking terrible. Character was terrible, and it was terrible in Solo as well. So
Yeah.
I had high hopes, but then ultimately it did fall to shit. For me anyway. Others may disagree. I'm not up to speed with Marvel content at all. I've not watched a lot of the TV stuff over
John,
the
I was
last few
thinking-
years.
I was thinking earlier, putting this content together, you know, talking about Doomsday, and I'm thinking this is going to be one of those rare occasions where, you know, getting into the Avengers film from 2012, we watched all those. So there wasn't many, to be fair. There was only maybe about 5 or 6 films leading up to that. Same with Age of Ultron in 2015, I think. We watched all those films leading up to that. Same with Infinity War and Endgame. I'm the same as yourself. I've
still watched a lot of the films, to be fair.
in terms of the series, John, though, I've not really kept, you know, with the Marvels, etc. And She-Hulk, I've not been up to date with those.
No interest.
But I do not think you have to go into this film having to watch all that. I know they said that you should, and it all. But I think there's too much going on in this film to really dwell on what's happening in Disney Plus series.
But Stephen, see, if you cast your mind back to the Infinity Saga, though, Stephen, I think even though it enriched the experience by watching everything and being up to speed, if you were a newcomer coming in and watching it in a sort of standalone film, I think they'd done a good enough job back then to make every film pop in its own regard. You could watch them individually and come out being relatively happy. Obviously, you'd be happier if you knew everything and how it all connected. But I don't think if you went in Age of Ultron or Infinity War and then Endgame and hadn't watched, say, 4 or 5 of the other films, you would have had any less in an experience. I think you'd have still got something out of it and thought, that's pretty fucking good.
Connective tissues, John, in terms of characters' relationships. I think there was a little awkward moment between Natasha and Banner. But I mean, that goes over your head if you've not seen the events of Age of Ultron. You just go, okay, whatever. Don't know what that was about. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I think they got the handling right. Ultimately, I think they've mishandled this, and that's why they've had to bring the Russos back and also Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans to try and save their asses.
Yeah.
But getting back to the Hulk, their asses. Hulk, I'm not worried about Hulk not being in this film. Like Mark says, if there's something interesting to do with the character, then he's happy to come back. Clearly, there's not anything interesting in this particular film. There's enough characters in here. There's enough stuff going on. They've got to introduce Doom.
Yeah.
And his rationale, by all accounts, it's if the leaks are that I've read anyway, or even the Motor 2, then he's
their hands been
interesting character.
And it's interesting because obviously we got those cameos for Thanos, building up to his grand appearance. Can't remember what film it was, but we got that. I get they were obviously leading us with the Kang, the Conqueror stuff, and then...
Do you think they'll do anything with Kang, Steve?
No, I think they're just going to...
You think they'll address that?
No, I don't think so. I think the whole thing... It wasn't resonating well, John, even before the trouble. The character just was not resonating well. When we saw him in Loki, I was like, I ain't buying this. Not
what you put me in mind of?
I'm not... the Avengers, the Kang Dynasty at that point as well. And I was like, I'm seriously worried about this.
Wasn't shitting on Jonathan Majors, by the way, as an actor, but he struck me as, in Loki, as being like a sort of 2-bit Doctor Who villain. I mean, he was on the level of like fucking Cyberman or a glorified Dalek or something. It was like... if that character had appeared on the BBC, I would not have fucking blinked. No. And I'd been like, yeah, he belongs in the BBC. And that's not me shitting on the BBC. We've produced some great content over here. But I wasn't having him as a successor to Thanos, as a Marvel big bad. I mean, Doom, yes, absolutely. But there's so many aspects, Stephen. We've obviously got your man... Right, man, his fucking name, Adam Warlock. Will Poulter, is that what his name is, the actor? Yeah. He's still floating about. He's I don't think we're going to do anything with him because clearly, as we're going to get into, Chris Pratt. Don't know if you want to address that now as well, Steve.
We'll just get right into it, John, eh?
Yeah, Chris Pratt addresses Starlord's MCU future after Avengers Doomsday cast exclusion. I don't think they're really going to include the Guardians in this sort of, or the initial Avengers movie, if they're not including the leader in Starlord. Of course you are. Of course you are. Of course. Of course you are. Then I don't see how they're going to include Adam Warlock or some of the lesser sort of side players. I'm not saying Adam Warlock's a lesser character. Fucking no chance. Incredibly powerful. But in terms of the context of Guardians, he's definitely a lesser player. Star-Lord's top villain. And then Rocket Raccoon. Of course you are. So I don't see them including him if they're not including Star-Lord. But Steve Star-Lord, what do you make about this, Chris Pratt? Because there's been this whole stuff where I speak about it often enough, the tribalism of politics. Certainly it's on steroids over in the United States. The whole left.
I don't really follow, the politics that often, but am I right in saying Chris Pratt is a Republican?
I think he may be a Republican. I don't think he's confirmed it one way or the other. I think what really set people off is the potential for him to be a Republican and a Christian. I think he's right into his Christianity and going to church and whatnot. And for some reason, that really riles certain individuals.
I don't see the crime in that.
It really upsets people.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I
don't understand what Chris Pratt's ever done.
No.
I genuinely don't understand how people have got this deep-set hatred for the guy. He seems a really likeable, humble guy, down to earth. So who gives a fuck whether he's into
John, we went
Christianity or whether he's a Republican?
Volume 1 in 2014, I think it was. You dragged me along to the theatre for that one because I was I've got no interest. John, 5 minutes with this guy on screen, I was bought and sold. I was like, I thought I'd like this character. He's almost kind of
fucking legendary.
He's got a kind of Jack Black vibe to him. He's got that kind of bouncy energy about him, and he's trying to be serious, but he can't be serious. And I just loved the chemistry. And Chris Pratt brought the majority of that chemistry to that film. He carried it almost. I know that obviously I'm blanking on Gamora's the actress's name.
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, who's a phenomenal actor. And I think is she not... I know obviously there's something about her, the Star Trek franchise, obviously.
Star Trek, Marvel, Avengers. Avengers, Avatar.
Yeah.
She's 3 of the top
grossing. The highest grossing franchise or something like that, so I'm I'm not shitting on her because I think she's fantastic. But there's something about Chris Pratt's presence in those 3 films, particularly the first one and the third one. Second one was okay. It was nothing to do with Chris Pratt or any of the cast. It was just the story was a bit less. Let's just say.
I'm trying to remember the second one.
The one with that species the gold species you didn't
Gold
like.
Bastards, yeah, that Adam
And
Warlock
Kurt Russell was in it.
Yeah, Eagle, yeah.
And you're thinking that would be the best one because we're both Kurt Russell fans.
Yeah.
But no, it was just in terms of Chris Pratt. I'm not really very much like Mark Ruffalo, John. I'm not really up or down about it. I think these characters have to serve a purpose. I don't want them shoehorning Starlord in this just for the sake of putting him in it, and so he's getting an appearance in it. These characters really need purpose, and I think there's a lot going on. There's a big cast, and it was very much like Infinity War, where we didn't get Hawkeye and we didn't get Ant-Man, wasn't it? In Infinity War, and I'm not saying they weren't missed. I would love to have saw Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, but there was enough going on, and it's similar.
And then they explained it, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Then extend.
And that's not to say that he's not appearing in it. I did read the article earlier on, John. The likes of Chris Evans wasn't announced as part of those chairs. You remember the actors' chairs, how they were announcing everyone who was going to be appearing in the next Avengers film. Chris Evans wasn't mentioned either. So there might be a cameo in there. I hope not. I don't really want to see Starlord as a cameo. He's too larger in life for me for just popping up, for the sake of it.
That's the problem again, Stephen. You've got such a large cast and so many characters. It's hard to make them all have fulfilling roles in the film.
Save him in the Guardians for Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I would do that.
And I think ultimately some of them are going to bite the bullet. And I think this time it could be permanently because we're coming to the end of an era with these characters.
Still the reboot.
They're all getting older. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's a totally different universe at that point. I think some of them will bite the bullet, and then you'll have to have guys like this coming in and maybe having a role. But if I say that, they probably won't bite the bullet. They'll probably just keep them fucking going until they're 60. Chris Evans rolling out in a wheelchair. And Lord knows, you'll have, I was about to say something and I had to stop myself. Also, Charles Xavier had dementia in Logan. I don't want to make light of that because my grandfather passed away with that and numerous other family members have had it. So I was going to make light of it and say we will literally have that coming into a film. But yeah, that's in bad taste. But Stephen, it is what it is, man. I just hope there's not been any, acknowledgement of what has been going on social media. The dislike of some of these idiots for Pratt and that they're maybe giving into them. I hope they're just ignoring those fools. I can't see them doing that because I think most of these directors know how good a guy Pratt is. I think Feige knows how good he is. And I don't think they'd listen to those idiots on social media. I think they ultimately are not including them if they're not because there's no role for him in this film. And ultimately, he'll have his day. And is it Secret Wars? Is that the last one? Yeah.
Yeah, Secret Wars, yeah.
So they'll find out a role for him. I think this is a very busy film. Like I said about Hulk, the same applies to Starlord and whoever else is not in it. It's a very busy film, a lot of story to be told, a lot of characters in there. So some are going to bite the bullet, some are going to be sacrificed. He said here, though, with regard to not being in the Doomsday cast, I don't know. I think it was far off. They must have cut away from it. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was there. I'm sure it was there. He's obviously taking the piss.
If he is, John, he's not going to say because he can't say. So
he's saying that he will return, though.
Yeah.
He made that promise at the end of Guardians Volume 3. Yeah. So I think he will appear. I think the Russos will get the balance right and they'll obviously bring characters in when their roles are required.
Yeah, I mean...
That's what it's all about. It's about good storytelling.
I'm trying to remember, John, the wrestler, the actor who was in Guardians.
Batista.
Yeah, but Dave Batista. I think he's done, isn't he? I think Dave Batista's done with the MCU.
I think he's just done with those kind of roles, Steve, and I think he's sized down quite a bit as well. He's lost a lot of muscle mass. He's much like Dwayne Johnson. I think Dwayne actually got a warning, a health scare, and he's lost a size. Well, I think he lost it for a film role I think a lot of that was down to health issues as well. So they've sized down a bit. And I think they just want to be taken not serious as an actor, but I want to take on different roles and explore different avenues as an actor. They're both getting on. Dave Bautista's in his fucking 50s now.
Yep.
And Dwayne's in his late 50s, I want to say. I don't know how old they are. But I want to say they are. I'm going to bring it up, search it up just now. Dave Bautista. I want to fucking don't know what I'm typing here. It's not English.
The reason I said that was because
57, Dave.
I feel that I feel that Chris Pratt can come into the MCU as a solo character. You know, he doesn't have to be attached to the Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, going forward, you know, especially if the likes of Bautista's not willing or can return, you know, to that sort of group of characters. I'm not really sure in terms of Bradley Cooper if he wants to come back to the Rocket character or not. But I think Star-Lord's a big enough character on his own right that he doesn't have to be, I don't want to say baggage, because, you know, they're a fantastic bunch of characters. They're great chemistry between the actors as well. But I think Chris Pratt, like I mentioned earlier, he carried those films to an extent, you know, and I think if they bring him in at some point, they could just bring him in. They don't have to have the rest of them there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see a Guardians Volume 4.
No, I think
James Gunn's not going to be involved.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really his story and his characters in terms of the cinematic side of things. It was his vision to bring them to the MCU. Exactly. He's not there anymore, so I don't want to see a continuation of that story. And ultimately, I think it was a good trilogy of films across the piece. The second was weaker, but overall a good trilogy.
Yeah.
You don't want to silly that by bringing out a fourth, and it may be ruined.
It was important.
Which is what Toy Story and Pixar should take.
Well, exactly. But I think
keep releasing Toy Story movies.
If one thing came out of the second volume was obviously that race of gold people. You get the Adam Warlock character coming from that. You know, and I thought he was really good in the third installment.
Yeah.
And great potential there for future appearances. So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out.
Stephen, ultimately, I'm not sure how it's going to play out for Marvel moving forward. Obviously, I expect the Russos to get it right. I expect Robert Downey Jr. to come in and hit the ball out the park. He's a phenomenal actor. He's almost the glue that holds the whole thing together. So I'm hopeful that he will come in and do a brilliant job. They will do a brilliant job directing. But in terms of moving forward, there's only so many times you can go to the well before it runs dry.
Yeah,
Hugh Jackman is not going to keep coming back. He's getting older. Chris Evans isn't going to keep coming back. He's getting older. Robert Downey Jr. is not going to keep coming back. So there's going to be a natural end.
Yeah.
At some point, we're going to have to cut it, take a decade of a break, as much as it will pain Disney and Feige and Marvel, because it's a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
John, this is it. I mean, financially, the studios don't do that. They don't stop a cash cow, but
they have
to be, in terms of creativity. They had the opportunity when they got the rights back to X-Men and Fantastic Four, etc., that perhaps maybe they should have kept him in the back burner for a refresh rather than connect them into this, because if they're going to go with a reboot, these current crop of actors that are playing these characters, I think perhaps maybe X-Men is the way they're doing it is the right way, because they're using the older actors.
Yeah,
James Marsden, Patrick Stewart, you know, Ian McKellen, Hugh Jackman. You know, they can do that with that, but with Fantastic Four, not so much.
Fantastic Four, though, Stephen, there's been that many iterations of it at this point. I don't think it'll make much difference if there's another 10 years down the road. Ultimately, I think the future will be bright for Marvel moving forward, even after this iteration of characters bite the bullet and they reboot it at some point in the future, because they have got all these properties back under their umbrella. I don't think they've got Spider-Man, but also they've got a good relationship with Sony now, so if they ever need to bring that character over after Tom Holland's done, then I'm sure they'll be able to make it work. And then you've got all that potential of X-Men versus Avengers and stuff like that, and you've got all those storytelling.
I'll tell you something, John, what I'd love to see. I love Mark Ruffalo, right, as Bruce Banner, but, you know, there's an opportunity here, and I don't know how much...
Ed Norton.
You know, the manner, you know, in Brand New Day, you know, there could be a there could be something.
See, I loved Ed Norton's Bruce Banner.
Yeah, I liked the film. John. I loved the film. I thought it was fantastic. It doesn't get the credit it deserves.
No, I don't even know. Even now, I don't know what the issue was. Was it finance?
I'm not really sure. I know that. I don't think Edward Norton wanted to commit long term to a franchise. I think that's what it was. He's not a type of actor.
Keep saying he's a series actor, but the other actors aren't series actors. I'm saying he's had a career prior to Marvel, and he's had a career after Marvel, and he's not as reliant on Marvel. Look, I love Chris Hemsworth. I love these actors, these guys. But I
thought Ed Norton was very good in the Dylan film. Really good.
Yeah, he was in something else recently I watched as well, and he was pretty fucking good in it. And he's a phenomenal actor. Absolutely incredible actor. I'm going to search up Eddie Boy, find out what film it was he was in. Recently I watched.
I'll tell you one of my favourite films with him, and it doesn't get the credit it deserves, is a film called The Score from 2001, I think it is, starring Robert De Niro, and I think it might have been Marlon Brando's last film appearance. It's a phenomenal film with Ed Norton. He really, he's in amongst, to be fair, Brando's almost like a cameo in this film. De Niro's the sort of, the experienced sort of heist, criminal.
I remember The Score. The Score was phenomenal. Yeah, it's a great film. Rated as high as it should be.
It's got a great enjoyed that to it as well at the end. So, and that was, I think that might have been, well, obviously Fight Club was out before that, but in America,
that was 99, wasn't it? Or 98 Fight Club, and The Score was 2001.
Yeah. But a phenomenal actor, John.
Yeah.
No, he's been in really big films before Marvel came along, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been in great films after. Yeah. And to be fair, guys like Chris Hemsworth have dabbled with films outside of Marvel and have not had great success.
Yeah, when's that some of these actors coming out?
I don't think it's coming out. Also, Hulk's sadly no longer with us. He passed away, but I was always baffled why they were making a biopic about Hulk Hogan. Really colourful life, for good and for bad. But in the main, anytime I've watched now, so I went back to wrestling for a bit, and I watched Steve Richards, who was an ex-wrestler, and even other people from that period when he was in the industry. They all consistently say he was a bit of a brown noser with Vince, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he was a bit of a belly in the way he acted around some of his obviously fellow wrestlers, to the point where they were trying to unionise and bring rights in, and he went back and let it slip to Vince, and obviously it caused a lot of problems, and it caused, I think, a division between him and the other guy that was heading up the unionising of also the talent. So never really understood that, wanting to make a biopic about the guy. Strange. I don't think that'd have made good money, and I don't think Chris Hemsworth, no harm to him, was a great choice. So he's not really extremely.
They're bulked up for it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's not a good thing, because he has to stop fucking doing that. Obviously, he done that test, didn't he? He took it like an ancestry thing or something like that, and discovered he's a gene that gives him a predisposition to some sort of rare form of Alzheimer's or something. So he has to be really careful with his diet and whatnot moving forward. So he has to watch what he's doing, Chrissy boy. So we don't want him bulking up too much. But look, obviously he's going to be in this, isn't he, for? I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys can deliver moving into the end of the year, because it's been so long since we've had a big epic Marvel movie. I reckon the last one was the last Spider-Man. What was it called? No Way Home. No Way Home. It was No Way Home.
No Direction Home.
No Direction Home. It's because I was thinking about that. I was looking at Ed Norton. He was very good. No Direction Home. Who did he play in No Direction Home? Complete Unknown. That was a Scorsese documentary, which was also very good. He didn't play Woody. Was it Woody Guthrie?
He didn't play him. He played.
No, he played a sort of banjo kind of folk player who introduced him. Exactly, because I think Dylan was a fan of Guthrie.
Yeah, he was. He was the old man. Yeah.
He had that condition, didn't he? That was causing spasms and whatnot, and obviously passed away quite early on. Funnily enough, I think that was a fucking thing that kicks in your middle years as well, and it was inherited from his mother. That's a whole other ballgame. That film didn't get the credit it deserved. Timothy should have been nominated. I think he was nominated.
Edward Norton played Pete Seeger.
Pete Seeger. He became his manager, didn't he? Or something like that. It became some sort of pathway for like Bobby Boy to move into, because he set him up for different folk festivals and whatnot.
Great film.
Yeah, let's hope Timothy, he's not going to win, because there'll be some other fucking role in there, no doubt. DiCaprio and one hit after another.
The one we're talking about, isn't it? I think.
One hit. Is it one hit after another?
Gianni reviewed that as part of his top 10, John.
Marty Supreme, man. Marty Supreme. Timothy needs to get an Oscar.
Timothy not get the Golden Globe.
Well, that's usually a precursor, but I think the SAG or something as well. They usually have to get the Screen Actors Guild. Then they're pretty much nailed on.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Timothy win.
I think the Academy Awards, for a very long time, and for me anyway, it's piqued my interest. So
yeah, there's a lot of good films, Stephen, to be fair. Came out this year, which is I think last year's was quite underwhelming, if I'm remembering. The Brutalist, no harm to Adrian Brody, but
I mean, John, you put Adrian Brody or Daniel Day-Lewis in the mix, you know what's going to happen. But
you think of the previous year, was it when Brendan Fraser won? And you've got Austin Butler, who put in that performance as well.
That was 3 years ago.
Is that 3 years ago? I'm losing fucking track of time.
Yeah, I think 20.
It's truly terrifying.
Yeah,
was that Oscars 2025? Who or 2024? Because Brody won last year.
Yeah.
Who won? Oppenheimer. Yeah, Cillian Murphy won. Yeah, you're right. Oh, it's fucking Christ. That was 3 years ago. Oh my God. That was a good year as well, to be fair. That was a good year. Michelle Yeoh, All Quiet on the Western Front, Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was a really good year. And we kind of tapped into that year. We were reacting to films.
We were up there with Gianni in terms of
need to get back to that.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of films this year. None of them have been nominated for Oscars yet. And I'm not going to. I've seen The Long Walk. It was very good. That was on Gianni's list.
Yeah.
I've seen Good Boy, which was a horror film, but from a dog's perspective, also pretty good. I watched Nuremberg. Pretty fucking good film. Liked it. Although unnecessarily fat from Russell Crowe.
John, I don't know. You're talking about dogs.
Weight for that.
I don't know if you saw that tweet from your man who played Captain Jack in Doctor Who.
Captain Jack in Doctor Who. Captain Jack.
I'm blanking his name. Glaswegian. Barrowman.
Oh, Andrew. Is it Andrew? John Barrowman.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if I want to talk about this on this, but yeah, I mean, you need to see his latest tweet. It's heartbreaking, really heartbreaking. His dog passed away.
No.
Died in his arms.
Oh, fuck. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's a really emotional tweet, John. And I like that.
Terrible, man. Yeah, it's terrible when you lose an animal. Obviously, a dog in particular, because they give so much.
Yeah, apparently the dog was
biggest fear
to come home.
Yeah, dogs know, Stephen. They just do, they know. They're just special animals. I'll need to watch that. I'll end up crying. I do this to myself. I find myself at like fucking 1 a.m. watching YouTube shorts of guys being gave pups after they've lost another dog and crying. I end up crying watching it, and I'm like, why am I doing it to myself? Why am I getting upset watching fucking middle-aged guys crying with a pup in their hand?
Perhaps maybe we've got to do, I don't know if it's a dog's purpose, a reaction on one. I think the one with
fucking Bobby.
The one with we need to get you crying.
Stephen, every fucking film I cry, I don't give a shit about dogs, that's why. You want to see me crying, I'll cry at a dog's film. I don't give a shit about humans. Humans are bastards.
Marley and Me.
Marley and Me. I've never seen Marley and Me. It's one of the ones I've never seen. That's a shame. I don't know if I want to watch that, to be honest with you. But anyway, we'll round it up on that wonderful note. Jonathan, I do like John Barrowman. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy. Never understood that accent. No, he was born in Mount Vernon. Literally 5 minutes away from where I was born. I don't speak like that. So why is he talking like this? And then he slips back into the Glaswegian accent. The fuck, John. Anyway, what is your thoughts on Star Wars? Are they officially beginning to retcon it? He's kind of, the guy who wrote the opinion piece is dancing around it by reimagining the meaning of retcon and saying that They're adding context. They're creating new stories that changes the way you perceive the sequel trilogy, Star Wars, and the characters. Do you want to see them continuing on that journey? Do you want to see them adding fresh stories in, doing something different with characters that maybe appeared in the sequel trilogy, adding more context, which effectively retcons the story moving forward? Thoughts on Star Wars under Filoni? Period. Thoughts on Ruffalo and Pratt confirming they will not be back for the roles of Hulk and Starlord in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday? Is it something that worries you? Or like us, do you think it's just symptomatic of a film that is absolutely fucking bursting at the seams with characters? And I don't think they can add much more in without just giving glorified fan service for 20-second cameos. And fuck those, we've done that in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and it was absolutely shit. So we don't want to see that again. Only bring a character and an actor of that calibre in if there's a purpose for it. Share your thoughts down below about anything we've talked about in the comment section. Don't know why I've got my AirPod case in my hands. It's empty because they're in my ears. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to it. Oh, we've got a question here before I do my spiel of an ending. Fire away with the question and then I'll end. Do you both think Keanu Reeves would play a great Darth Raven? Is Raven the one that's masked?
Yeah.
He's got the mask.
I think there might have been some. I think there might have been some unofficial artwork I've seen online of Keanu Reeves as this character. Yeah, John. Anything. I like Keanu Reeves in most things, but there we are.
Yeah, I don't know how you did that. Might be coming to Ahsoka season 2, and Natalie Portman might be returning as Padme, and Abeloth will take her on to deceive Anakin. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd like to see them expanding out and things like that, by bringing characters in. I don't know. I like Keanu Reeves. I think he's a great actor for what he does. Also, he's never going to be like an Oscar-winning actor. He's not articulate enough. He's quite a, I don't want to say a simple man in a disparaging way, because he is. He lives a simple life off screen. He's a great guy by all accounts. I think that kind of role would be tailor-made for him. To be fair, we've seen him doing it with Constantine and stuff like that in the past, where he does these sort of leading roles in action-heavy films. I think he probably would do a good job. I'd like to see the guy doing it anyway. I'd just like to see the guy getting work. So yeah, I don't see any reason why not. But anyway, I'm going to round it up. It's 12:15 here. And I've got to go and walk my dog. Thankfully, this is not too rough an area, so I can get a piece to walk my dog without any issues. And it does help when your dog is 7.5 stone of sheer muscle. He's got fat in there as well. Let's not kid myself. Thank you. It's a Boston Celtics hat, because I'm a Celtic fan, but I'm also a fan of the Boston sports teams. And I'm glad to say, and I just wish that fucking bellend who came into the chat last year and slagged me for wearing a New England Patriots hoodie and says they were finished and Drake May was overrated. Where are you now, you fucker? Where are you now? AFC Championship game, mate. Patriots, Broncos. Drake May, MVP for the season. Patriots are back, baby. Where are you now, bitch? Fucking round you. Still a dynasty. Get it up, you. But let's go to round it up. Share your thoughts down below in the comments. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notifications. And until the next time, all that's left to be said is thank you for watching us. And bye-bye. This will not end. Bye-bye.